Okay, so this is the teacher toolkit, final project piece that I have put together. Alright, so before diving into the articles I found, I began to think why as I was searching over the library. What articles do I want to find? So first of all, I wanted to find articles related to curriculum-based measurement, or CBM, which is a pretty big topic we have been covering over the last couple semesters, as far as using formative and summative assessments to track students' progress. And so I wanted to see if there were some more articles that talked about research in that, or growth rates, or how well it can be. I also wanted to dive into an article to explore some classroom practices or management. Not everything is taught in school or might be learned on the job, but it's always good to read some research to find some strategies or something that can help further your skill set as far as becoming a teacher. And when I'm in the classroom, I can refer to those points. And then the third thing I wanted to look at was obtaining more information about math interventions, for a better lack of term, and kind of diving into um, how math is today with the big push on the Common Core state standards and how students are becoming more inclusive into the classroom and how they are expected to keep up on that. So I found a couple interesting study articles. So they're just more um, formal pieces about what researchers have found rather than things that I can utilize in my classroom. I did find a really cool one that I'll talk about here later on in the video. So I'll save that for the fourth article. So the first one I found was modeling the growth of decoding skills in first grade. The abstract is combining curriculum-based measurement and linear modeling procedures to identify the characteristics of first grade children that predict growth rates when acquiring decoding skills. And when they did the study, they assessed the students in word and non-word reading. The study examined a level of performance and rate of growth of cognitive abilities, and through that was phonemic awareness, emergent print, or letter name, letter sound, and graphopheme knowledge. During the study, they had 75 students over one academic year. The problem was they only administered the curriculum-based measurements once a month, but they did prove to increase decoding skills. The study showed general knowledge was increased as well about print, which was done through modeling by their teachers. So the results in the early stage of word reading development, there was a strong association between the growth in cognitive processing, print knowledge, and their decoding skills. So the reason why I chose this article and why it's important is because it's just utilizing the curriculum-based measurements that we've been talking about and how it can show, they can track growth in the students' progress and how they can further a skill. In this case, the reading skills through print, books, like eventually they could kind of start reading, putting words together after being able to identify letter sounds, words. The second article I found was curriculum-based measurement of reading. Is 6 weeks of daily progress monitoring enough? Now, as we already know, curriculum-based measurement should be continuous, ongoing, and can be done throughout the year. It doesn't always have to be. So I thought it'd be interesting to find a study that showed if less than a year, half a year was enough. So curriculum-based measurement reading is used in research and practice to estimate the level and trend of student achievement. It is used to inform a variety of educational decisions, including evaluation of program effects and a student response to reading interventions. So in the study, there were 40 second grade students who participated, and they were given the CBMs daily. Data was used to evaluate the validity, reliability, precision, and quality of the study. The results, I'll just call it the good, bad, and ugly. The outcomes were more valid and reliable. and there was growth in the number and data points. It was increased. However, the quality of estimates was only marginal. Granted, they were doing daily CBM assessments. There was just not enough information over time to show a period of growth, meaning 6 weeks is just not enough. So, in relation to when I'm in the classroom and monitoring a CBM, I'll just remember that it's continuous, ongoing, and it takes more than 6 weeks, well, depending on the student. And so to remember to use formative and summative assessments when monitoring and tracking the student's growth, and whether it's 2 or 3 times a week. So the third article was more of a study. Originally, I thought it was going to be geared towards best practices for students with ASD in terms of intervention for math. But it just was a wide range of studies over time. I have the number here. So there were 1,922 articles. Only 21 of those were in the criteria for inclusion, which is a little problematic because we are pushing for inclusion more and more. So let's just go to the abstract and go from there. So educators need evidence-based practices to assist students with disabilities in meeting rigorous standards in math. Students with ASD are expected to demonstrate learning of basic and advanced mathematical concepts. This review identifies math intervention studies. So like I had said earlier, so now that we're pushing for inclusion, students are expected to do more and more during math, which is a little problematic because in one study, they found that students with disabilities in grades 3 through 7 exhibit lower achievement and growth in mathematics than students without. The study also found that mathematic achievements levels of students with disabilities from 2007 to 2013 have remained flat, with 80% of students scoring below proficiency. In this study, there were 28 participants total, but it was predominantly male, at 71%. It ranged from ages 5 to 17. The most common research design was a multiple probe or multiple baseline. The results were inconclusive as for more evidence-based practices were needed to be involved with getting the results. So the reason why I chose an article like this is looking through the research is that when working with students, especially in math, it'd be interesting to find the evidence-based practices that work well with particular students and ones that I can implement through my instructional design. So the fourth article I found, this is the one that I really enjoyed. I'm glad I found this one. It was pretty recent. It was published in 2015, updated in 2019, I believe. Connecting evidence-based practice with implementing opportunities in special education mathematics preparation. So over the past 2 decades, changes in legislation and mathematics standards, along with increased placement of students with disabilities in general education settings, have resulted in higher expectations for what students with disabilities will be able to know or do related to mathematics. So in this article, they also highlighted that effective preparation in mathematics related to SPED requires, for me as a teacher, an awareness of legislation requirements and guiding standards, understanding the etiology of mathematics difficulty, familiar with mathematics content, understanding pedagogy related to special education and mathematics education, knowing assessment to gauge student progress, CBM, and familiarity with evidence-based practices. So this article kind of touches up on everything that we have talked about throughout the program, and it's a good guide to prepare a new incoming teacher like myself, and how it relates to special ed students with the new recent standards, the Common Core state standards, um, and just kind of the increased expectations for all students, including those with disabilities. Um, so the article highlights preparing pre-service educators to teach mathematics is of utmost importance if students are to receive high-quality mathematics instruction. Tattle and Seneck, 2011. Educators who will teach mathematics to students need to establish pedagogy, content knowledge. I believe that's one of the tests we have to take for licensure. And then, so one thing that the article highlights is just the importance of what is evidence-based. Provide practice on reading, research, and identifying appropriate evidence-based practices. So what we utilize in the classroom for our students. And finally, I wanted to find a little different article that talks about kind of classroom management, or kind of something in my skill set to help me use as a strategy. So, teacher leadership and classroom management practice in special education with learning disability, the most prevalent SPED disability category. Okay, the study aimed to investigate the relationship between teacher leadership and classroom management. There are 6 dimensions under teacher leadership practices. Study utilized qualitative method survey design by using questionnaire as a research instrument to obtain data. Okay, so there were 179 special education teachers that were in the study, and the 6 dimensions under teacher leadership practice, namely creating energy in the classroom, building capacity, securing environment, extending the vision, meeting and minimizing crisis, and seeking charting improvement. So in conclusion for this article, teacher leadership practice is an important aspect to improve classroom management practice, specifically to those teachers who are teaching in special education with learning disability class. So one thing the article highlighted is basically saying, building a connection with your students and responding to their emotional need, building that connection. And so that's one thing to consider, thinking about when working with the students, is just being sensitive to their feelings, and also understanding the capabilities that each student has in their skill set, and strengths and weaknesses, but also utilizing these 6 dimensions or terms, if you will, ways that are managing the classroom. And so I think it's something that now, moving forward, could use a little professional development on, and would be interested in researching more material on that. But part of it's just kind of learned over time, I feel like. So that's the 5 articles I got for my toolkit. And so going back to the why, I found the articles related to CBM. Wanted to explore a little bit practice in classroom management. And then just obtained some studies and numbers about math interventions and how students are being taught math today. Okay, thanks.